preacher and director of photography. Last summer, a few weeks before my 42nd birthday, I read Ross Gay's Book of Delights, the product of a project he imagined a few weeks before his 42nd birthday, the project of spending a year writing an essay each day, a mini essay, an essayette, on something or other, someone or other that gave to him an experience of delight. What would it look like for our lives, through practice, to become attuned to delight? What would it look like to walk through the world on the lookout for what delights us? What would we discover about delight? What would we discover about ourselves? Very early in my ministry, a wise elder colleague spoke these words to me. He said, if when you wake in the morning you call to mind all of the complaints and dissatisfactions and plan your day around addressing and fixing those things, you will find yourself surrounded by dissatisfaction. But if when you wake in the morning you call to mind those who generously bless the ministry of the church, you will find yourself surrounded by people who bless the ministry of the church. I was inspired by Ross Gay's Book of Delights. I wasn't inspired to write a daily essay. I was inspired to write a sermon. But more than that, I was inspired to pay attention to what filled me with delight, and I was inspired to keep a list of delights I noticed, especially those delights I discovered amongst and amidst this community church. One of the things Ross Gay discovers about delight is that delight is actually a communal experience. Delight longs to be shared. Ross Gay tells of a social gathering in which the adults are all gathered inside a house having a serious conversation until a small child bursts into the room and blurts out, "Come, outside, look, a rainbow." And all of the adults put down their plates and napkins and file outside in order to see this delightful thing in the sky. Somehow it is made more delightful by the fact of sharing it. Delights long to be shared. So without further ado, here are half a year or so's worth of delights that I have been compiling since last summer. There's 100 of them, so we'll be here about 4 to 5 hours. They move quickly. And delights they are for sharing, so it's my pleasure to share them with you. There is a delight I find in arriving at church on the Sunday morning when the art in the sanctuary has been changed, and walking into the space and being surprised and shocked and delightfully surprised by new art on the walls. There's a delight in noticing the native plantings in the courtyard planted and tended by Valerie Vickers and Julie Worth-Smith. There is a delight that you probably don't know about. The delight of the very large and delightfully plump groundhog that on sunny days waddles up from the canyon and hangs out outside my office. And which, since delights are for sharing, I run into the other offices and tell my coworkers, come look at the groundhog. There's the delight of enjoying musical offerings from Danny Gotham and Debbie Davis on cello. There's a concert this afternoon. And Dorothy Wright on cello. And everyone brave enough to do a solo. And the Bluegrass Battleship and Lex and Brian and Luminescence and Eric Bannon and Jay Miller on the sax and Richard Edwards on guitar and Daniel Jones on drums and Max Coleman on drums and Eric Leith on piano and other instruments and Josh Sokolar on piano and Kristen Trangsrud on piano and drums this morning. And there are the times I have literally bragged with delight to someone from another church, yeah, but I bet your church doesn't have its own 16-piece ukulele ensemble. Our campus ministry fills me with delight. It is the only campus ministry in the state of North Carolina, UU campus ministry in the state of North Carolina, and perhaps the most active campus ministry in the country, which is a delight as well as a sadness, because I do wish more Unitarian Universalist churches would work to experience that delight. I'm sad that they don't, because they're missing out. They were so delightful last week, weren't they? I wish this delight were shared. Let me talk about the delight of young person energy in this church. Our church includes young people, which I define as people younger than me, serving on the board, the worship ministry team, the immigrant justice team, and the music ministry. I delight that our membership includes 3 people that I know of who are preparing for the ministry: Sarah Gush, Sarah Clark Farnell, and Carter Smith. And the 2 of those 3 are children of our church, which says something, I think, about our ability to engender delight and inspiration and passion. And I delight in the Inch Leadership Program that takes seriously the leadership development of high school students. Oh, I've literally bragged to people from other churches. Our church has a leadership development program for high school youth. How cool is that? I delight at the way our church shows up. There were about 50 of us from our church this year at the NAACP's Martin Luther King service. I'm delighted the way we show up for historic thousands on Jones Street, the way we showed up at Moral Mondays, and it's so many of those gatherings where people gather together as a form of moral witness. I delight in the generosity and openness and open-heartedness with which our congregation has welcomed a refugee first and now an asylum seeker to live in the manse. And in the team planning next month's pilgrimage to Montgomery and Selma, though they would be delighted if I was better at answering my emails. And I delight in a Share the Plate program that now gives away upwards of $40,000 a year. Isn't that amazing to our wider community? And there's a delight that I have when out of the corner of my eye, I catch those solar panels and it's like, oh yeah, those were there. And last Sunday, I was so delighted by Maureen and Shannon's shiny pink caps that they wore as they festively solicited donations for the food pantry. As I delight in those who keep showing up for shifts month after month at the soup kitchen. That's 40 delights so far, if you've been paying attention. Of course, I delight in the robustness of our ministry to children and our ministry to middle schoolers and our ministry to high schoolers. There is a one-word delight, who we call Marion. And do you know that those programs for children and youth are some of the most robust among UU churches in the country? I delight in the dedication of our trained Our Whole Lives teachers at the K1 level, the grade 5 level, the grade 8 level, and the high school level. I delight in the seriousness of their calling and the life-changing impact that that ministry has. I delight in the vision and organizational skills required to transform this church into Hogwarts for a weekend during the summer, and then, depending on your choice of words, reform or deform or disform it back into a Muggle church by Monday morning. And writing that last sentence filled me with delight. I delight in the audacity and vision and organizational skills required to direct, produce, cast, choreograph, costume, light, set design, orchestrate, and sound design a full-on musical. I delight in descend upon the community room of the Jones Building and do this work of setting up tables and making punch and smoothing out tablecloths and setting flowers upon them and creating in all of this hustle and bustle hospitality when we gather for a memorial service for one of our members. And I delight in the kitchen crew during concerts and musicals and performances. We're all in here, and then over there, if you walk out into there, there's this whole other kitchen church happening. And I delight in the pie and cake and cookies and brownies that to me seem to magically appear at all of these events. I delight that we are better at potlucking than we seem to believe that we are. I delight in the way a baby's eyes grow large when they're given a rose during a child dedication. And I delight in the slightly embarrassed eyes of youth that seem often to be saying, "Please don't look at me," when we make them stand up at the Rising Up ceremony for graduating seniors. There is a delight I find, and you'll see if this makes sense to you. There's a delight I find in the opening of a quilt when it is unveiled. It's that moment when it is opened and you see kind of the what is on there. When the quilters show off the quilts that they've quilted for Habitat or for the auction. The opening of a quilt, that moment when you sort of see what that finished product is, that mystery inside. And I delight in the volume of knit caps, shawls, and blankets created by the knitters and crocheters. They sometimes show me a stack, like a bag full of them, and I laugh to myself and I think, come on, I know you didn't make all this. I know you've got elves somewhere that are making this for you. That's 70 delights so far. I delight in Rachel's warm and welcoming presence on Sunday. And I delight in Rachel's ability to remember names, because as one who prides himself on his ability to remember names, Rachel beats me at that. And I delight in the rituals and traditions we've developed for welcoming new members into the church. I delight in the gifts of joy and enthusiasm that Kat brings to the assistant religious education director position, and I delight in the gifts and passion and perspective and unflappability that Dana brings to the congregational administration. I delight we have a team of members in the church who are so deeply passionate and so deeply committed to principles of dialogue that they've taken this passion out beyond the walls of the church into the community, all over the triangle. And I delight that we have a team of members who are so deeply committed to our church covenant that they've created a new ministry to improve and to become better at the way our covenant is lived. I delight in leaders. This may confirm me as an absolute church nerd, as if there was ever any doubt. But there is something that is so wonderfully delightful about leaders who take seriously their volunteer commitments, who show up for meetings, who give of their time and their talents. This may sound perverse to some of you, but there is a delight in a thoughtful agenda, as well as in well-recorded minutes, and in attention and presence at meetings. Just as there is also a delight in seeing some of our folks get up on ladders, wield paintbrushes and screwdrivers, and reorganize a supply closet. There is a delight in the leaders who show up with pizzazz. I smile, a great big smile, whenever Don and Susan Blanchard show up in their tuxedo t-shirts. I already mentioned Maureen and Shannon's pink hats. I delight in all the creative and imaginative talents that are on display at the events and items that are offered during the fall auction. And I delight in the imagination and persistence of our gap strategy team as they bring raising the last portion of the necessary funds to our building expansion across the finish line. I delight when they're sent out those sign-up sheets for meals and rides and visits when someone requests help. I delight in seeing those sign-ups fill up. The focus when the chalice is lit, the silence that is held, the sharing from the heart in so many classes and groups, the act of active listening, and the exploration of spiritual practices when they're shared among us. Just a few days ago, when that mini snowstorm came on through, I had a delight in a memory that I had of 6 years earlier, which was just a few days after that blizzard in 2014. We remember the years of our blizzards here. That blizzard in 2014, just a few days after that, I found myself in Brad Kasiba's living room with the Ministerial Search Committee. And the Ministerial Search Committee, at my request, got up and stood in a circle and held hands and sung Shalom, because I had no idea what they were talking about. And I asked them to, could you please do that for me so I know what you're talking about? And they sang with such love and joy that it gave me that hint of delight. And I delight in the blessed memory of members of this community now departed who live on in memory and legacy. I should tell you, as if there was any doubt, that I delight in Bill Rote and Mary Beth Powell. I delight in how the day of service was last year and how it's shaping up to be even more amazing this year. It should be illegal for an annual pledge drive to be that fun. Speaking of annual pledge drives, I want to say just one delightful thing. Last year, we were, as a church, we're in the second year of our capital campaign, and mindful of the extraordinary generosity of people's extra giving to fund the building, we promised not to pressure people to increase their giving to the operating fund with their annual pledges. Instead, Bill and Mary Beth threw a giant Mardi Gras party, pretty much by themselves, some help at the end, and more than 200 of our members went out into the community and did service projects. And we simply asked people last year to think about what this church means and what its impact is and its capacity for delight, to give as generously as you could, and that if everyone pledged and if everyone gave as generously as they could, whatever we raised would be enough for us to run the church. And when the results came in, we set a new record. Pledges had increased by $38,000. This year, we're in the third year of the capital campaign, and our GAP strategy team is working hard to raise the extra to bring us across the finish line. And so the message this year is really the same. It is if everyone in our community pledges, and if everyone in our community pledges thoughtfully, and if everyone in our community pledges as generously as they are able, and in response to the delight that they find, then we will be able to count it all as joy. To count it all as joy. And there's a budget town hall if you have questions about that after the service that Andrew and I are leaving. If you've been tallying this sermon up, you should have counted 99 delights so far. Roske, during his year of attention to delights, noticed many things, learned many things about delight while writing his book of delights. And I've noticed many things, learned many things, keeping this list of churchy delights, this catalog of unabashed gratitude. Delights, Roske says, one of the things he learns is that they call out to be shared. Like the young boy telling everyone to come outside and look at the rainbow. That our delights are naturally meant to be shared. For our silences become more fulfilling together, our singing more joyful together, our service more satisfying together, our voice more powerful together. Our delight increased together. And so I leave the 100th delight unspoken for you to name and for you to share. Amen. Blessed be. And I invite us to join to sing our closing hymn of the morning. It is, of course, Ode to Joy. What else? So I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to join in singing hymn number 29.